Have you ever walked in the woods at night and felt like something was following you? What terrorized Native Americans and loggers in the Pacific Northwest? Could your life depend on whether or not you turn around to investigate a sound? Today, we test the believability of the Hidebehind.
Welcome to Believing the Bizarre,
Where we dive into the unknown and the unusual.
and tell you whether we find it believable or not.
It is late.
Yes,
It's late.
It's a late
It is
night.
already, it's tomorrow. It's Wednesday for us. Not really, but you know what I mean.
yeah.
It's the next day. But I think this is going to make a fun, interesting episode.
Yeah. It will be a fun, interesting episode.
Yes.
Episode.
I'm excited. So I want to give a proper shout out to a couple of people that have mentioned today's topic, the Hidebehind. Most recently in our Patreon Google Hangout K mentioned it.
Yeah.
Which I was still on the fence whether I was going to do the topic. Once I said confidently in the Hangout I was going to do it, I was like, oh shit,
I should do this.
But I also want to shout out, this is from earlier in August, Chloe, in our Facebook group. We do have one of those. We're everywhere, but we have a Facebook group, and Chloe posted a video. Did you watch it?
I've seen it, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not fun.
Very, very creepy. And they were like, we think it's a Hidebehind. I'm like, what's a Hidebehind?
Isn't the video called Hidebehind?
She posted it. I don't know what it's called.
I think it's called Hidebehind.
It's like a posted video that she did. Like it's okay. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to show you. It's late. I just want to shout them out because without them, this episode probably wouldn't happen.
This should be an interesting. It's a scary thing.
It's very spooky,
very creepy.
I will set the scene here. Before I do, I will say shout out to also Allocation Cryptid Wiki Exemplar, the book Forbidden Land, and Reddit.
Wow,
for a lot of what you're about to hear. Yeah, but let me set the scene, okay?
Yes,
right?
Please. Yeah.
So once again, you haven't learned your lesson. You're walking in the woods late at night, couple bandages because you survived Penelope, the Sierra Nevada monster. You got out of the woods then. Good job. It was a choose your own adventure, so I'm assuming you did. This is the canon version. You made it out.
You must have.
Yeah. So you get this feeling again, like you're not alone. You look behind you, and you don't see anything, but you're a little nervous. Your steps quicken, and the woods seem to get darker by the second. You hear a twig break behind you. You turn around again, but this time you catch something scurrying behind a tree. It looked big, and it moved fast for something so tall. Part of you wants to investigate, but the other part of you, absolutely frozen with fear. You take a few more steps, turn around again, I don't know why, and you see this thing dash behind a tree. You realize you're not being followed, you're being stalked. Even more of the thing is revealed, and it's clear to you it's not quite human, but it's also not a traditional animal. Now you sprint. You run, and you feel this thing on your tracks. I'll finish the story. You survived. You did it. That's not what you're supposed to do.
No,
you
you're
learned
not.
what you're supposed to do, but you made it out. Good job.
You were almost out anyway.
Yeah, but it was close. You didn't hike that far. You learned your lesson. So that is the Hidebehind. Creepy, creepy, creepy. The Hidebehind, nocturnal, humanoid-ish creature.
Something.
Typically found in the Pacific Northwest, the PNW.
Yeah.
It's known to prey on humans who find themselves lost and stumbling around the woods.
Silly humans.
Nighttime hours. Weird noises, distant footsteps, and strange figures are often attributed to the Hidebehind. I've seen it, by the way. I've seen it hide space behind, hide dash behind, or just hide behind.
Oh,
One
I
word.
thought you said you've seen it. I was like,
Nope.
what?
Thank goodness. Never seen this guy.
In Hocking Hills?
Hocking Hills. No, I did not see
Let's
it.
imagine where they would be here.
Saw some waterfalls.
You know,
Saw some stars until them Canadian fires decided to cloud them
very
up.
off topic. You know the song Jason Waterfalls?
Yeah, don't go. Chasing
Yeah,
waterfalls.
don't go chasing waterfalls. I thought for a long time that was about a man named Jason Waterfalls.
Don't
go Jason Waterfalls. I thought it was a very sad song about him leaving.
What's going on, Jason?
Jason Waterfalls, don't go.
So the lore goes back to early Native American sightings, and it's also blamed for disappearances of folks in early logging communities in the 19th century when they fail to return to camp. Loggers or lumberjacks is another, loggers, lumberjacks, people who are very familiar with trees.
They got an axe, and they got anger problems.
They're not. There's two type of people with trees. There's the tree huggers and the tree cutters.
Yeah.
And these are the tree cutters.
I follow a guy on TikTok who cuts trees.
Every video is a different plaid shirt, right?
No. It's usually a
Same
suspender and black.
No
Black
plaid shirt?
T-shirt, no.
I don't think he's real then. But nothing's real on TikTok, so I'm not surprised.
No, nothing is real.
So loggers would travel, meet up, swap stories, and some of those creepier stories involved the hide behind. As its name implies, it's able to quickly evade human vision and scurry behind objects to conceal itself, more often than not, but not always, trees. Some people claim to see it just ever so slightly peeking around a tree at them. But unfortunately, or fortunately, due to their nature, it makes the physical description of the hide behind a little difficult to report on.
Yeah.
Because they're pretty good at hiding.
Mostly are unseen.
Mostly unseen. Probably for the best. Loggers that were working in the area would describe them as ferocious, humanoid animals with black, shaggy fur, incredibly sharp claws that stood over 6 feet tall, which maybe was taller back then. I mean, that's still tall. For us, it's tall, but it's also like, LeBron be looking down on this guy. Very slender enough that they could slip behind tree trunks as small as 10 inches in diameter, which is kind of crazy.
Very thin.
Yeah, they're on that Mark Hamill.
So they're mostly just like
Star Wars.
Like little beams coming after you.
What?
Like little beams.
Oh, okay, beams. I
Like
thought you said beans, and I pictured like little things.
No, they're tall though.
Like trolls.
It's a very interesting body.
Some people claim that they're just gangly black shadows. Other people say that they can take on the form of a person. We're gonna get to a story later. This is a very encounter based. There's not as much lore. I mean, you're getting the lore now, but it's gonna be a very encounter based.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm gonna spoil it, but I just want you're gonna hear it either you're gonna hear it now or later. There's one story encounter that we get where the person claims that it wants you to investigate the sound, and sometimes it will choose an appearance that would make you most likely to investigate it.
Oh, I don't like that
which
at
is
all.
like shape shifting, right?
Yeah.
Because just get back to the present time. People also say that it can take the form of a person, and other people have apparently seen it or claimed it to be like a skeletal old woman.
Ugh.
I don't know why that would be what you'd want to see.
Oh.
But the idea of it being a shapeshifter is very interesting and not what I originally was thinking when I started reading about this. Because it goes from like wild animal beast that just happens to stalk you to now thinking it could be a shapeshifter.
Like this, like almost like feral monster, like Dogman.
Yeah.
To something intelligent and malicious.
But I guess it has to be to a certain extent. Like it has to be aware enough to know, like, does this thing know that well, I guess there's animals animals can sneak. I mean, I've seen cats sneak to get a bird and a bunny.
Instincts, yeah.
Like, clever girl, velociraptors.
You seen them sneak? Okay.
I have. I've seen more of them than I have the hide behind. But either way, no matter what this thing is, apparently, like to fit the lore of the hide behind, no matter what it looks like, what it does, it is supposedly able to manipulate its body to perfectly hide behind even the skinniest of trees.
Yeah. Like
suck in and just I don't know. Like that in itself is also very creepy.
Mm-hmm.
So here's an excerpt from Forbidden Land by Robert L. Lyman. Quote, "The Native Americans told about the hide behind, the most dreaded of strange forest animals. No one ever saw one of the creatures because they always hid behind a tree. But everyone knew that they often follow travelers through the woods. If a person was afraid of them and kept looking back, the hide behind would torment them into a panic. Old woodsmen said that the only way to overcome the fear of the hide behind was to ignore them." Unquote.
Interesting.
So let's get into some theories on what happens if the hide behind catches you.
I got a theory.
What's your theory?
I think they eat you.
Well, they can't overeat because then they can't squish down behind trees. They must pace themselves.
They must, yeah.
They're just keto, just humans. No bread with you guys. No tortillas.
Fat in there already.
Tortillas. So one theory, some people believe that hide behinds actually laughed, which is... A lot of this could be embellished. For some reason, the laughing part I feel like they're not laughing. It feels too primal. Like it doesn't seem like something that's like, haha, got you.
Yeah.
But then that's one interesting way to think about it. Is like, is it like a haha, got you? I tricked you. I tormented you. Or is it like, hey, this is how I get my next meal? Like like if a lion gets an antelope, it's not like sinisterly manipulating the situation to freak them out before you. Like they're just like, I'm gonna get you. The easiest way I can kill you to eat you, so I can live. You know, there's like two different mindsets. Not that makes it good or bad. Or
I
anything,
don't know. I mean, obviously we can't know, but
never.
Like,
yeah, I thought you might know. Actually,
it's just
you said before the quiz, which we did this episode on Patreon. I quizzed Charlie 10 questions about this episode, and you did say you know. So I thought maybe you might know.
I knew of it. Yeah.
That's more than I can say about it.
I wonder if it's just like it depends if you want to take it as like an animal or malicious.
They do it for the fun of the game. Or like Michael Rappaport says with fantasy football. He doesn't do it for the money, he does it for the honey.
You could say that about the Hidebehind as well.
I think so. Anyway, so let's forget the laughing part. Some people believe that they disembowel their prey with their large claws in a single swipe. And urban legend says that the Hidebehind's favorite snack is human intestines, and they prefer their victims alive while devouring them, which there's no way to know that.
No.
There's no way to know that. Other theories?
Like, why do you like this?
This is weird. It's tastier when you're afraid.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think fear is a seasoning.
Well, I mean, there's a reason that they kill animals quickly.
Little garlic.
Well, they don't like the fear. Fear is not a good flavor.
Paprika is bad?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
This is for real?
That's for real.
I'm not a hunter, so I don't.
Yeah, because what I understand, right? If an animal is afraid, it tenses.
Oh, so it affects
yeah.
Gosh, do you think my tofurkey's ever been tense?
Well,
before
you can get firm tofu, so maybe.
That's good. Wait, hold up. No, I'll never get this. I'm sorry. I don't even know what that does. Do you have a guess?
The crickets are still going. Is that?
Wait, hold on. I like that. That was good, man. I appreciate it. That was a good tofu thing right there.
Yeah, George R. R. Martin, when he writes his Game of Thrones books, he calls the intestines, do you remember what I said? Purple snakes.
Yeah, it's gross.
It's a good description.
Finally, some people believe that it is a master manipulator, constantly driving up your fear and anxiety so that when you finally turn around and you see it, you actually have a heart attack and die of fright.
Damn.
These things can either be, I don't know, like I think on the most horrific end, they are very manipulative, enjoy tormenting you.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Honestly, between like basic ass ghosts to demon, I feel like they would lean demonic more so. Not that they are, I mean, you can't be a demon just because you're demonic.
Right.
But I mean, they lean more towards evil in a way.
Yes, I think that's a good thing to say. Maybe in the way of like, just things being out there to create chaos.
Yeah. Like, it's not like, I don't think that Hidebehind is killing you to eat. Like, there's other ways. If it has claws like that, I don't think it has to do this.
Yeah.
People are pretty dumb. I think you can get them without the whole stalking thing.
People go out to the woods to hike all the time.
So do you think that the Hidebehind has a weakness?
If I had a wager, most things do, I suppose, in this realm. If
you had a guess on what you think maybe its weakness
I don't know, man. I'm going to go get a drink.
Oh, you know what? That's great. That is great. Because it is alcohol.
Oh, yeah.
For some reason, they hate the smell or the taste or it does something to the meat. I don't know. Makes it they don't like, they don't like the drinks. Maybe they decided on a sober life and they want nothing to do with the stuff.
Maybe. There's straight edge.
That's why it takes place in PNW, not Ireland. It can't be straight edge, though, because I think they eat meat, right? Isn't that? Or there's no swearing. What is straight edge? There's no sex, no swearing, no drinking.
No drugs.
No drugs. Oh, yeah.
That was the big thing.
Yeah, hopefully he's not going around like, well, no, you can swear. No, okay. Yeah. I think the Hidebehind is straight edge.
I think he is too, yeah.
CM Hidebehind, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Hidebehind punk. All right, let's get to some of the encounters and some of the stories. You know what's scarier than hearing your voice called out in the middle of the woods at night when you know you're alone?
What?
When your wife is hangry.
Oh, yeah, that's real horror.
Yeah, and as fall season's coming up, you know you don't have as much time to cook.
Yeah, there's apple picking.
Football.
Hay rides.
Football.
Pumpkin patches.
Football.
It's a very busy time. That's why you need Factor, America's best ready-to-eat meal kit, which will help you fuel up fast with chef-prepared, dietitian-approved, ready-to-eat meals delivered straight to your door.
literally right to your door. Like, they even ring the doorbell. Kind of freaked me out.
From carb and calorie conscious to vegan and high protein options, they have you covered no matter what your dietary preferences are.
And we're not just saying this for the fun of it either. We actually got to try some factory meals ourselves.
Yeah, I got to try the loaded bacon shredded chicken.
And I smashed their vegan mushroom marsala.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah. And with Factor, you're not just choosing convenience, you're getting sustainability.
That's true. Factor offsets 100% of their delivery emissions and sources 100% of their renewable electricity for their production sites and offices.
So head to factormeals.com/bizarre50 and use the code bizarre50 to get 50% off.
That's code bizarre50 at factormeals.com/bizarre50 to get 50% off.
All right.
Hidebehind punk.
Yeah.
That really got me.
So this isn't quite an encounter because it's a little ridiculous and long, but it's so entertaining.
I'm ready for it.
This is so entertaining. This is high quality Reddit material here.
Ooh.
This is like prime cut of Reddit.
Ooh, a nice juicy dry aged.
Even better. And I don't always do this, y'all. If you listen, you know I don't normally shout out the Redditor. Do you want to know what this guy's name is?
Please.
Mr. Beef Thighs. Shout out Mr. Beef Thighs. Are you ready for this great story?
I'm sure this will be high quality literature.
Quote, I'm an animal control expert who specializes in cryptids. One cryptid is entering human homes more often than usual. This is a PSA. This is noise. That was me. For years, I was the guy to call if you had a squirrel in your attic. I mean, to a lot of people, I'm still that guy. But over the last 20 years, I've branched out to other less common infestations. Now, I'm the guy you call if there's a haunted doll rummaging through your attic, or Sasquatches trampling your flower beds. I love my job. The specializations I've acquired have allowed me to travel across the country, meet incredible people, and experience cryptids like few have done before. It doesn't hurt that the pay is great too, but the stories, they're even better. And I have a story for you now. It's more of a public service announcement than anything else, really. I've dealt with every sort of infestation, from Sasquatches spray human urine around the area of sighting, it'll avoid the area, demonic presences, usually you need to bring a priest in, sometimes can be tricked into inhabiting a lesser creature like a frog, but recently there's been one cryptid that's been growing more and more invasive into human settlements, the Hidebehind. Most commonly found in the forests of the northern United States and Canada, the Hidebehind is one cryptid that cannot be easily dealt with. In fact, I'm not even sure it's possible for one of these to be bagged and tagged like we normally do with other cryptids. To my knowledge, no Hidebehind has ever been killed, maimed, dazed, or even simply removed from a residence. First documented by Native Americans and by lumberjacks in the PNW of America, the Hidebehind is one of the lesser-known cryptids on the continent, but without doubt, one of the most dangerous. No one really knows what they look like. As the name suggests, as soon as they are seen, they quickly duck out of view to hide behind anything in the vicinity. In the wild, this would be trees and rocks. In your home, this could be a corner, a kitchen cabinet, television, literally anything else they can manipulate their body to hide behind. In the few accounts of the sightings we have on record, they've even been described as everything from a large bear-lion hybrid to a frail and elderly woman with long arms and rashes on her skin. Because of this wide discrepancy in their descriptions, they're believed to be shapeshifters that can change their shape based on what they believe will best get their potential victim to come closer and investigate the sighting. I don't know why the Hidebehinds are moving into suburbs. I guess destruction of their natural habitat, but it's becoming a real problem. That's why I'm going to share this story with you now, so you know what to do if one shows up in your home. So I pulled up into Tim's house, a client, around 12 p.m. on a Tuesday. He called me in to tell us that there was a, quote, demonic entity in his house, and we needed to remove it ASAP. They always demand ASAP. People are so much more demanding than they were 20 years ago. Anyway, I took a quick look around the house, and it was pretty apparent there wasn't any sort of demon in his residence. Not only was there no reaction to the holy water I brought with me, but Tim also did not have normal symptoms of a demonic haunting. Bad dreams, sleep paralysis, or witnessing any telekinetic events. After further questioning, he described what he's seen in more detail. And I don't know why I'm going to give him a southern accent, but I'm going to give this man a southern accent. First, I was sitting right there on the couch watching television when I got the feeling I was being watched. My attention turned to the screen door, and for just a second I saw a bear looking in through the screen. But it wasn't a bear, you see. A bear would just keep staring at me, keep poking at the door. But this thing just ducked out of view as quick as can be. Like I was trying to sneak up on me, and I caught in the act. Bothered me something awful. But I grabbed my gun, set it on my lap, kept watching TV. Eventually that feeling like I was being watched kind of melted off. It was all peaches and cream until she showed up a few days later. The she Tim was referring to was a new human form of the Hidebehind. I assume it was because of the lack of reaction to the bear form as it had previously shown itself. Like I said earlier, the Hidebehind wants you to look for it, to come near, like an anglerfish. It dangles something in front of you in an attempt to bring you closer. It's like a lazy hunter. So Tim said, I was out in the garage in my workshop, and that feeling come over me again, that being watched feeling. I turn around, look out the garage door, and I don't see nothing. But then out of nowhere, I see a lady's head and shoulder pop out around the corner. And the second she see me, eyeing her, she pops right back around the corner where she came from. Well, this time I went looking around for her. I gave a wide berth around the corner because I lived in New York City in the 70s, so I seen crazy people. She looked crazy, and I didn't want her grabbing me, so I slowly took a wide turn around that corner. There wasn't no one there. I walked all around the house. I didn't see anyone, not even footprints. Tell me that ain't demonic. It wasn't demonic. It was a Hidebehind, and I told the man as such. I told him living out here on the edge of town made him an easy target for it. I told him there really isn't any way to get rid of it or to scare it off. I told him he could try to leave his house for a year minimum, and maybe, with luck, it would leave on its own. But the best bet would be to burn the place down and never come back. He didn't like that answer. You really can't argue with anyone over 65. People get set in their ways, their beliefs calcify. So instead, I was honest with him. I told him two things. First thing I told him was that eventually he'd get that feeling that he was being watched, and he'd get his gun, and he'd start looking around, and he wouldn't find it. That's what happens in all these cases, because at that point, it found the best hiding spot it can possibly get. The only place you won't be able to lay eyes on it, even if you tried, directly behind you. And at that point, it's too late. The second thing I told him was that I'd be back in 2 days, and more than likely, he would be dead. And then I left. 2 days later, I pulled my van up to Tim's driveway to find the screen door wide open and blowing in the wind. I didn't even need to cross the threshold of his house to find him. He was everywhere. On the floor, the ceiling, the walls. The smell was unbelievable. I poured some gasoline on the front porch and lit it with a match. The house was an inferno within 30 seconds. I got in my van and started to pull out of the driveway, and I took one last look at the house, and then beyond it, onto the tree line. For just a split second, I saw a young boy before he quickly pulled back and disappeared behind a little tree. I was hundreds of miles away by lunchtime. I say all this to tell you, if you ever think you might have a Hidebehind in your house or even in the area, leave. Burn the place down. These things are like bears. If they know they can get food someplace, they're going to keep coming back. And if you get that feeling you're being watched and you can't figure out why, call your loved ones because it is standing directly behind you.
That was not silly. That was terrifying.
Good story, though.
Oh, my God.
All right, I'm going to be honest. The only reason I decided to do an accent was because it needed to have
separate them.
It needed, separation, but to tell me that ain't demonic to the it wasn't demonic. I was like, when I was reading, I was like, I gotta.
Oh my gosh, that was actually really scary.
Yeah, shout out Mr. Beef Thighs.
I thought it was going to be funny.
Well, there's
it's humor.
It's written in a humorous tone, but what actually happens is horrifying.
Yeah. Wow.
Any immediate thoughts?
About the Hidebehind?
That story.
I never once imagined them being in a residence. So that right there already puts them in even scarier lights.
Yes, I agree. And I don't think I have any other stories where it takes place in a home. But this one specifically, I remember thinking extra terrifying, raise the bar in terms of horror for sure.
Oh, yeah. I never once thought about it in a home. But
like where it's like outside a tree, you think, oh, they're in the woods, they're in the woods, they're in the woods. And then like, a counter, your couch. It's like, oh, you get that, because, it's like I lock the door, I'm safe. And, no, you're not.
Don't like that at all.
So I got, I believe, 4 encounters. They're not quite as long as that one. That was a beast of one, but it was so good I had to include.
Wow. Makes me happy I have dogs. So my dogs would freak out 100% of the time. I'm sure they'd let me know.
My cats just be sleeping.
Difference. Not the same thing.
All right, so encounter number 1. This is a YouTube comment.
Okay. Wow.
Quote, I saw a skinny humanoid creature in the woods covered in long black hair before sunrise. There was just enough light to see this thing run behind a tree at unfathomable swiftness.
No.
I froze and waited for it to come out. It never moved, so I ran home. This is my first time hearing of a hide-behind, but it fits almost too well. I also took photos on separate occasions of footprints that are not of any nearby animal. 3 deep dots of what I assumed to be claws. At the time, I assumed they were bear prints, but after I realized how wrong I was, it really freaked me out. I saw the creature back in 2017.
Oh,
unquote.
That's scary. I don't like that at all.
No. Even though it's like not as like an elaborate of a story, but it's like that's what the majority of people like.
That was way more real.
Yeah, I was just about to say if you put a gun in my head and said one of these is real, pick the one that's real.
Yeah.
Sorry, Tim.
Yeah.
It'd be good for Tim if that one wasn't real, the first one.
Yeah. That was like almost written like a narrative.
Yeah, it was really well done. Yeah. This one, and just to be honest, like I found it on Reddit, but they always include a link, and the Reddit link went to like a creepypasta thing. So I would say take this one with a grain of salt.
Okay.
But, it was interesting, so it's here. Just got to call that out. Quote, whenever my brother and I came home late for dinner, our dad would tell us about the hide-behinds. These creatures, he would say, would follow hikers as they walked through the woods. At the crack of a branch, you'd turn around, and there'd be nothing there. Then, out of the corner of your eye, you might see a dark shape sprint behind a tree. Soon, your paranoia escalates, and you're running through the woods, but there's no escape, he'd say. The hide-behind would follow you until your heart stopped from fright. And I believed him, the child that I was. For a while, I'd never stay in the woods, too late, too long, and I was never late for dinner. But I soon grew out of such fantasies. There were other real dangers of the woods to fear. Getting lost, preyed upon by bears, for instance. The hide-behind seemed immature now. Yet, every now and then, when I'd linger in the woods after twilight, a dark shape darting behind a tree would catch my eye. For an instant, my heart would skip a beat, but I dismissed them as deer or, honestly, more likely, paranoia. I didn't want to believe, but I should have listened to my instincts. There's a reason people have an innate fear of the woods. There's a reason we feel like something is following us when we hike home after dark. Like my childhood nightmares come to life. I found myself lost in the woods one day as the sun went down. I walked as fast as I could through the thick woods, trying to get my bearings. I ended up doubling back just to catch a glimpse of something behind a tree. Perhaps that was the right way after all. I turned around and continued, faster and faster. I looked back, and there it was again, but this time it lingered in the open just for a second longer before disappearing behind the trees. Now I began running. My heart raced, the thorns of the brush tore at my legs. I needed to go faster and faster, but my legs were on fire. They couldn't take me any further. At this point, I just prayed for it to all be over. I don't know how I survived that night, what willpower kept me going, but somehow I evaded that terrible creature until sunrise when I got back to civilization. It was a while before I went in the woods again. There's a reason people fear these woods, these creatures, these incarnations of paranoia have haunted humans for as long as we've walked in the woods. My advice to anyone in the woods after dark, don't look behind you. Unquote.
A while before I went back in the woods. I mean, a while would be never for me. Like, you know that these things are out there. Why would you go back?
If you ever had one encounter, it's like, why risk it?
No, you're
right?
done. Yeah, like, well, I enjoyed the woods while I was there.
Like, if you ever got struck by lightning, chances of you ever going outside during a lightning storm ever again? Because you'd be like, what are the chances? Well, we know the chances.
Well, like you got into it, you would go back out in the rainstorm and be like, yeah, I used to love rainstorms. I'm glad I'm back out here in these rainstorms.
Oh, no, I left my golf club and my umbrella outside. Let me grab them real quick. Horseshoes?
Yeah.
Yeah, I...
Better climb this ladder, too.
It would honestly be such a bummer because, like, I love the woods so much to have something traumatized like that. I wonder if it's almost like I can't let it win. Like, I can't ruin...
This isn't like a perfect analogy. I used to love to smoke, but it was dangerous.
But you're probably better off not smoking.
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't think the woods is quite as bad for you.
No.
Also, outside of the context of the hide behind, I don't think it's always the best advice to not look behind you.
Yeah, no.
There's probably
not.
some circumstances, more likely circumstances, where it might be better if you look behind you.
I agree, yeah.
Like if it's a person or a bear or anything besides the hide behind.
A mountain lion, a vampire, something.
Yeah, you know, just like, okay. Like it's like there's a bear coming up behind you and it's like ready and it's making all this noise, but the person's like, not looking. And the bear's like, what is going on? Is he deaf? Like, what's happening? And
then the hide behind gets the bear.
Oh,
yeah.
Plot twist. Yeah. All right, let's move on to our third encounter from the YouTube again. Quote, I've actually seen a hide behind, or a shadow being, as I call him.
As you call him.
As I call him.
Jesus Christ.
Anyway, I live alone in different woodlands. Basically, I live in a tent, and I've done it for a few years. I've had 3 paranormal encounters deep in the woods. I camp in some woodlands that are miles from other humans. I'm always alone. I live alone. I don't have any access to psychedelics. Caffeine is my only drug. You can tell this is a comment here. It has the comment.
It does have that vibe.
It's got like the pulling in a lot here.
Mm-hmm.
One thing you should never do is acknowledge them with speech. It became a bit fascinated with me. It would move my stuff around and play with it when I was asleep. I've since moved many miles from that particular forest. If you shine a light at them, they just become the shadow. It's like they're the darkness, but if you talk to them and you stand your ground, they get impatient and will peep around the trees at you. They have no face. They're like an animated shadow. If you chase them or move forward to the tree they're hiding behind, they just move to another tree and are extremely fast. They don't move like we do. Like they become the shadows. I set up a trip light at the front of my tent, 2 foot from the ground with a motion sensor. High enough that mice and things like that wouldn't set it off. You had to be about 2 to 3 feet away to break the beam or sensor, so no deer or owl in the distance could set it off. I positioned it at the door of my tent, and all night it tripped the light on and off, on and off. And every time I unzipped the tent, there was nothing there. No mice, no foxes, badgers, nothing. I'd close the tent, and 10 seconds later, the light would be back on and off, on and off, on and off, like it was walking around my tent. It was crazy. I'm a fearless person. I don't really get frightened. And I think that's why it was interested in me, because it chased and I would talk to it. I had a feeling somehow that this thing was female. I didn't feel threatened. I don't really have fear. I wanted to talk to it. It only creeped me out as I knew it was there. Everything in your body tells you it's there. It starts with that feeling like you're being watched. I've only seen this hide behind creature twice in the woods. There are 2 other encounters for another time. Unquote.
I guess he was putting that Riz on this thing.
There's a lot going on here. Really fascinated in me because I don't get scared ever.
I'm super fearless.
I live in a tent, but I can afford sonic heat-seeking detecting motion. I'm not making fun of this person, but you know.
That's okay.
Still creepy though. It's
a creepy idea.
It goes against everything everyone else says, but the hide behind though.
Yeah.
Like he's chasing the hide behind, but you know.
Yeah.
All right, our 4th and final encounter comes from Reddit. You ready?
Yes, I am.
Quote, back when I was 14 years old, my friends and I had an end of summer bonfire. It was just sort of a way to have a last hurrah before summer parties and late night video games were over and we were back to early school classes and homework. Anyway, there were about 7 of us, if I remember correctly, and we played some video games like Halo, but we also went outside and we had a bonfire. My parents' house was next to a big stretch of woods that, honestly, I never really explored too much in my childhood. But while making s'mores and talking about random stuff, we got the idea of playing a form of hide and seek in the woods. 2 people hide, and the other 5 people have to go search for them. If you find them, you scream, "I found the witch." Then everyone has to dash back to the fire pit, which was the, quote, safe zone. If one of the 2 people hiding tagged you before you reached the pit, you had to hide on the next turn because you were it. Anyway, we played that for about 30 minutes or so, and honestly, it was a lot of fun. And I wasn't scared of anything, I never felt creepy, it was just a good time. Until the last round. We started the game, and I was looking for my friends hiding. I was one of the 5 looking, and we all split up. And as I'm walking around, we've been playing for a while, we've been outside for a while, my eyes started adjusting to the nighttime, so I was seeing better, and the moonlight started coming out from behind the clouds. I heard a strange clicking sound and started heading that way to investigate. And I'm looking straight ahead, and honestly, I'm shocked because clear as day, I saw someone hiding around a tree. Like, obviously. And, I mean, the whole point of this game is to hide, so it really took me by surprise. In my mind, I waited a second, almost had a pity to give whoever it was a chance to readjust their position. Looking back now, the shadow was way too tall and didn't fit the build of any of my 14-year-old friends. But I started cheating a few steps back towards the fire pit, and I let out a bellowing, "I found the witch!" I looked back, expecting to see one of my friends chasing after me. I saw the shadow flinch, but it tucked itself further behind the tree. As I got back to the fire pit, everyone was confused. They asked me how I could have seen them. They were hiding nowhere near where I came from. I thought they were just messing with me, but a couple other friends confirmed their story, as they witnessed them exiting the woods far from where I was at. I was speechless. I told them about what I saw, and it freaked a few of them out, so we only stayed outside a little bit longer and then eventually went back inside to try to sleep. It wasn't until years later that I read about the Hidebehind. It immediately brought this memory back to me. Could that be what I saw? It's hard to tell, but as with any of this stuff, you never really know.
Man, I felt like he was close to dying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
creepy.
Creepy. Have you played that game?
No. That's you have, right?
Yeah, it wasn't called The Witch, though. It was like Ghost in the Graveyard.
Yeah. I never played that.
And I've played it around a house. I've never played in the woods. Like, you'd hide in, like, someone's pool.
I mean, this is kind of like a house-ish area. It's like in the woods by a house.
I don't know how rural the house is, but yeah, like, either way, it's like, I wouldn't even want to hide in this scenario. Mm-mm. It's very creepy. But those are our stories. Those are encounters. That is the lore of the Hidebehind. So let's get to the discussion. All right, before we get to the discussion, we like to stop the episode and thank our newest patrons, who, as of the recording of this here podcast, includes Kenna H. and Miguel.
Wow. Thank you.
Thank you for joining our Patreon, joining the Patreon community.
That felt insincere. It's not true. I'm very insincere.
Holy shit.
Wow.
Cool, bro.
I appreciate you for joining, both of you for joining.
There was 3 of them.
Oh, H was
Kenna,
a separate.
H,
okay.
And Miguel.
I appreciate all 3 of you.
Yes.
For joining us.
So much extra bonus content outside the main episodes on Patreon. Charlie, what is one tiny little segment from our Patreon that you would like to highlight on this fine Tuesday?
Have you ever listened through like our older episodes? We haven't for a long time, but producer Ben has. And what he does is he takes those old episodes and he quizzes us on what we said in the past, which I'm going to be honest, I don't remember most of it.
It depends. Sometimes it's like remembering it like we recorded it yesterday.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's like
was I even there for that?
Yeah, I don't know. I had to stand. I had a clone. My doppelganger was doing it for me.
Yeah, so that's Remembering the Bizarre. And it's a fun quiz with producer Ben. And it's like, one of my favorites because it's 2 against 1.
That's true. We get to co-op finally.
Yeah.
We're doing the couch split screen style.
Mm-hmm.
It's good times. One thing that I want to highlight, it is time-based. It is in our newest not tier, the not tier. It is the enamel pin. It is exclusive to the year 2023. There will be a new one that you can collect for next year in 2024. But the current version, the inaugural, it's our neon logo on an awesome enamel pin. You can only get it by joining the not tier on our Patreon between now and December 31st.
Yeah.
And also I just want to say, because there's like stamps and shipping and stuff like that, if you are currently a part of the not tier, we have shipped it out. Hit us up if you haven't received it yet, but we have got those sent out. But I love them. I think the quality's awesome. They look so good.
Quality's fantastic. Big fan of that.
So we have some qualms with the Patreon on the support side, but in terms of what we're putting out there in all the bonus content. We're really excited about it. We always are thinking of new things to do, but also we're really enjoying the stuff we're currently doing.
Yeah.
So if you want bonus content, check that out. But with that said, let's get back to the hide behind. Okay, hide behind. I think there's a couple different angles here. I think consider whether it's something being mistaken as a hide behind, whether or not this thing could be a shapeshifter, or if it's not real, is it just people's paranoia playing tricks on them?
I think that's a good question.
Because there's the loggers went missing. It must have been the hide behind. And even these other stories, like not counting the one with Tim and the cryptid specialist, as much as I love that story, that's the only death we've seen. Most of these other people see it and they got away.
Mm-hmm.
And the other ones, it's not like they found the bodies. It's just loggers disappeared. So it kind of felt like a folk tale.
But from the lore, like, you have to wonder, is it malicious or is it a monster, just savage?
Yeah, like an animal that just is, I need to eat, so I'm going to kill this thing walking through here that clearly does not belong. Mm-hmm. He's wearing joggers. He's not from the woods.
Looking way too comfortable.
Or is it something that's like prowling and stalking, and it's like, I'm gonna, not like a jaguar, but like, I'm gonna frighten him. I'm gonna make sure he knows I'm here, and I'm gonna freak him out, and then I'm gonna get him. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think to me though, that's a very important question.
I feel like the lore of the hide behind is more the manipulative, creepy, where like the hide behind at its fullest extent feels like that. Sharp claws, clicks, laughs, disembowels you. Like that's like the lore, the urban legend of the hide behind. I feel like the tamer version slips into maybe just a misclassification if you're finding a body or a footprint, or just people's own paranoia. The shape-shifting factor is very creepy.
Yeah.
It's only really come to fruition in one story. But the idea that it would make sense, and it goes in the manipulative. It's kind of like when you talk about how every little girl is a demon. Mm-hmm. It's like it wants to appear, not necessarily. I feel like it has to choose one or the other. It's like I'm either going to be something to absolutely terrify you, or I'm gonna choose to be seen as something that's going to make you want to come closer.
Yeah, exactly. And I wonder if it like feeds off that fear.
I don't know. That's so different. It's either this really furry, black-haired thing that's tall, or it's the shadowy thing, or it could be a little boy going into the tree lawn.
Well, let's talk about the party, the last story, right?
Yeah.
It seemed that it tried to lure this boy into the woods.
Was it, though?
That's what I'm getting to next.
It clicked.
It clicked to get attention or to scare him away?
I don't know.
Because when he did start to come closer, what happened?
Well, when he shouted, it flinched.
Yes.
But it didn't move.
Yes. It didn't move. He flinched and he started to back away and run.
Maybe because he yelled, it was like he's not alone, or he's like, I don't have him. Like, he's running away, but to where everyone else is running, so he's not easy prey anymore. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
So I wonder if he hadn't have shouted.
A lot of these other ones, yeah, I don't know. A lot of them didn't say where they took place.
That's true. They didn't give locations.
Yeah. I wonder if, I don't know. I think the difficult thing is that since it's not easily seen, so you don't have, it's kind of like we were talking about the chupacabra, and there's just two very different versions. But more so than that, because there's multiple different versions, but nobody has had a clear view to tell the tale.
Yeah.
And there's no, like, I feel like a lot of stories, or some of the ones we cover, have like that one historical encounter that's grounded in like there's newspaper clippings, and then you go to the Reddit encounters and things like that. Where this one is like loggers and Native Americans saw and talked about it, but there was no like exact. I know it took place a long time ago, so you're not going to get the same type of written down proof, receipts, anything like that. But it feels like it's missing that one or two stories that really grounds it in reality.
Historical stories.
Yeah, I feel like there wasn't like a historical story that you could pick apart, and then you get the wild stories kind of seeping off of that. It feels like it's like, here's this urban legend, and then here's some more recent encounters.
You didn't give like any like tribe names, did you?
No.
Because you couldn't find them, or because...
No.
Okay.
Nope.
That's interesting. I wish there had been some kind of lore from the tribe about it.
There's other than that, like that excerpt from that book, there's really not much. Like I honestly, what I was digging for the most was a logger story. Like I wanted, like, this guy was at this area, he wandered off, this is what happened. But it was just like loggers said this, lumberjack said that.
I'll tell you what, I give so much more legitimacy to anything if there's a Native American story behind it. I trust it so much more.
Yeah.
I think that's just one of my biases.
Yeah. So when I say, where do you put this on our scale? Believable, viable, skeptical, and believable. Are you looking at it as one specific version of the story, or like it as a whole, or like
to me
the lore of it versus like some of the encounters? Like, how are you?
To me, if there seems to be, I'm going to rate it off of, if I think that there's a creature in the woods that has this ability to hide behind trees, that counts to me.
This is Bigfoot's territory too, by the way. Which, if you believe Bigfoot's interdimensional, maybe this is just another
Bigfoot
interdimensional.
hides behind a little sapling.
Bigfoot climbs the trees. He's looking down on you.
Yeah, I just.
I'm actually not even joking.
I just want to see like a little artwork of like a Bigfoot and just like this baby tree. It's just like it's tilting
clearly,
over.
You can't see me. I'm interdimensional.
I'm gonna go viable. I know it seems probably silly because there are no Native American stories or lumberjack stories or historical stories, but to me it seems like it's hard to find. So those stories make sense that they're not there, really. Yeah. That it's kind of become this urban legend. And the fact that people have claimed to see it in modern times, it should make it more legitimate for me, but it does. Just because of how it's described.
Yeah.
It feels real to me.
I wish that it either went full in the shapeshifter category or full on, this is what it looks like.
Pick a lane.
Even if it's like, you don't get the full look at the body, but everybody who's seen it peeking sees the same thing. So because it doesn't have it's not picking a lane in terms of what people claim it looks like, some of the stories have it as shapeshifter, some don't. And the fact it doesn't have that historical story to kind of ground it. And I think the mind does play tricks on you. And people could really be seeing some of this stuff, but that doesn't mean it's this character.
Doing the math in my head, I feel like this is not looking good for this thing for you.
I'm just saying, no historical experience that is like a grounded historical experience besides just like they say this. It's not, you can't classify it as this is what it looks like. Could be paranoia, and it could be something creepy out there that's just being misidentified, not the actual hide behind. I'm going skeptical. It could be out there. It absolutely could be out there. It's terrifying, but there's not even like any like proof of like deaths or anything like that. Like nobody said I lost this, So could be out there. Absolutely terrifying. I want to go to the Pacific Northwest.
I do too. I would like to do that.
Ever since San Andreas, my sister and I wanted to go hunt Bigfoot out in the Pacific. I have a better chance of finding it out there than in GTA San Andreas. But for now, I'll go skeptical. So that is our story on the hide behind. Once again, I'd like to say thank you to Kay and Chloe for presenting the topic. I'm saying, like, sometimes people say they'll hit us up on Instagram and be like, hey, you should talk about this.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's like, I'll add it to our list, and I do. And sometimes it just hits me.
Because that's happened to me too.
I have to be, like, you're in different moods, right? Like, you might be I want to talk about aliens, but I don't know which one, or I want to talk about cryptids. And if somebody, like, pokes and prods a specific one your way when you're feeling that, it could jump the list. Yeah. And that's what happened here with the hide behind. Like, I saw the video, I'm like, that's spooky, I should look into it. And then I just kept getting more stimuli about it.
That happened with the dog man for me. I think. Yeah. It's almost 12:50.
It's almost 1 in the morning.
It's almost 1 in the morning.
Numero uno a.m. and we both gotta work tomorrow.
I gotta
and it's
going.
Not BTB work we're talking about.
No, I got real work to do.
But if you're enjoying I wouldn't say this isn't real. But if you're enjoying this podcast, you're liking this episode, you've liked what you've heard. If you're on Apple, you can leave a 5-star review and type out your thoughts and your opinions. And if you're on Spotify, you can leave actually, you know what? They might have got rid of ratings, like overall ratings.
Oh.
Because remember, we were doing pretty good on the ratings, and I try to look, and they might have removed them since you can comment on specific episodes now.
Oh,
I could be very wrong about that.
Not.
I could be wrong. They might still be there. But you can comment specifically on an episode. Like, for instance, this one, the Hide Behind. You can comment on exactly what you thought about this episode or any of our other episodes. We love reading them. We post them, and it's really cool.
And if you're interested in wearing some merch from the podcast, we got that.
Yeah.
In I'd say in mass. We have a bunch of stuff.
We got general and episode specific.
I was going to say episode designs that are like specific to maybe your favorites.
Yeah. If your favorite happens to be the Black-Eyed Kids, the Ghost Ships, the Ouija board,
all of them?
the Michigan Lake Triangle,
the Wraith one,
the Wraith, the Colorado Wraith,
good.
The
there's a bunch.
The Not Deer.
Oh yeah,
there's definitely more. The Kasukiano, is I say it right?
No, you didn't. I know what you mean.
You say it.
Kasukiano.
I was close.
You were close.
That's there, and there's more. But if you know, and there'll be more eventually too. But those are kind of a fun idea of turning a specific episode into merch.
For sure.
And if you're all caught up on episodes, you want a little bit more, Patreon. We do quizzes, we play games, we watch movies together on Netflix. We could do Google Hangouts. You can get a shirt, you can get a hoodie, you can get an enamel pin, all free by just being members for multiple months. Ad-free episodes, so you're not getting those ad breaks from Walmart or Giant Eagle. I don't know what it is. Who knows? Whoever's
in there
latches on
talking
to
you.
Yeah, you want to skip all that, you can just, for $2 a month, go over to Patreon and get it ad-free, and you get our ringtone and wallpapers. So tons of bonus content over on Patreon. But we appreciate you listening to this episode, hanging out with us at almost 1 a.m. Hopefully it's not 1 a.m. unless you don't have to work tomorrow. But anyway, thank you everybody so much for listening. As always, I'm Tyler.
I'm Charlie.
And catch us next week on Believing the Bizarre.
A podcast as bizarre as you are.